Hello and welcome back to the Draw Pod. It's me, your host, Elyse. In this episode, I'll be chatting while doing some drawings of beach houses in Galveston, Texas. If you're new here, this is a visual podcast where I draw something and chat with you as I go. You don't really have to watch the video to know what's going on, and if you prefer to listen to it on the podcast app, it's available pretty much everywhere. If you want to watch the YouTube video, though, you can check out my channel, which is always linked in the description of this podcast. I hope everyone has been doing well. This week, as I mentioned, I'm going to be doing a drawing of some beach houses that I saw in Galveston, Texas. Galveston is a really special city for me, so I want to talk about it some along with the other content of this episode. As for an update on me and my life, this past week has been pretty good, and even though I have less obligations now, I have a lot of work to do. I have fallen behind in a lot of things, one being kind of the YouTube and podcast, because I went to Galveston, as I mentioned, and that was a really nice bit of a break. I went there with my family, just, my mom and my dad and my little brother, and my boyfriend who's been down here with me for a while, and my brother's girlfriend who's also just in Austin with all of us. So it was a really nice trip. We stayed inside most of the time because it was really stormy, but it was still just kind of nice having some time in a different place. But anyway, I have fallen behind, as I mentioned, in those things. So the past few days have been spent catching up on the things that I've been missing doing. And then I've also fallen behind in practicing Spanish. So I need to jump back into that. That's been a bit of a challenge to get back into since the on-key flashcards that I use, you need to do stuff every day. You need to practice every day for them. So that's been a little challenging for me, but still good. We're getting back into it. I need to get into the preterite, studying that grammar lesson. I forgot to do it last week, and so I've been putting it off, and I don't know how many Spanish speakers are listening to this podcast, but I have a hard time with the preterite. But this next week is the imperfect tense, so it's a lot easier for me. Anyway, but I've just been catching up, but I've been enjoying my time with my boyfriend being in town for these past few weeks, and I'm hoping that this next week, though, is really productive and I can kind of regain my bearings a bit more. I also wanted to say that last week I had a few days. I know it's hard to picture the weeks and the order of things. It was kind of last week, kind of a little bit over a week ago, but I really wasn't feeling like myself, and that was rough, and I can kind of honestly sense a bit of a rut coming up, and I don't want it to happen. I just made a video actually about getting out of a creative rut, about my art major post-grad experience, which is good and true. All the info I said in there is applicable to getting out of a creative rut, but I just kind of feel something coming on, like a major rut. I'm not trying to manifest it into existence, but I think I need to give myself more of a break than I have been giving myself. Like I said, I got to go to the beach and spend some time kind of away from everything, but I don't think I actually really recharged. I just kind of got rid of some of the anxiety that I had coming into the trip. I don't know if this is making sense, but anyway, yes, I wasn't feeling like myself, and that was weird and rough because that hasn't really happened to me in any of this time that we've been social distancing at home. Maybe at the beginning, but it wasn't fun. I'm sorry if you can hear my dogs, but I'm sort of starting to feel a little like myself again, which is really good. I am, as always, changing up my scenery and my schedule kind of helps me get through these things. So I'm really thankful that I got to have the chance to get out of town for a bit. So that's my update on myself. For my fans who are so excited to hear about how I've been doing. But anyway, let's get back into Galveston. I decided to make this the theme of the episode because I love an architectural style of drawing. And this drawing, you can tell that it's kind of more loose and not actually accurate, because I just think it's kind of fun to just draw and not be super neat with the lines, but have it make enough sense. I like how lines that are not totally perfect can still tell a story and can still make sense when you're drawing them. And yeah, beach houses are so strange themselves, and I love seeing all the different sizes and shapes and landscaping decisions that are made by the owners there. Like, I don't know, like I feel like a lot of the beach houses that I've seen are just like, they're on a lot, and first of all, the beach houses are just like covered in decks, which is really funny. I want to do more art related to that in the future, I've decided. But yeah, there's just decks circling around all the houses. There are like 3 layers of decks, or like 3 stories of them on some, and they're just so fun. And also just the fact beach houses are already very elevated because they have to with, flooding and hurricanes and all that jazz. So yeah, they're really weird. And then, like I said, you have the plot of land where they're on, and some people just kind of have a plain plot of land. It's just grass that they mow. But then some people have like this crazy landscaping and just kind of random palm trees everywhere and random bushes and flowers. And I just think it's great. Again, I've had landscaping on the mind for a while, so it was really fun seeing this in Galveston and like going somewhere where there's not really like any HOA restrictions, they don't, I mean, maybe there are, but they don't really tell them what their beach houses have to look like, what their property has to look like. Maybe they just say mow your grass. Anyway, I find it very interesting, and you should look at some pictures of beach houses after listening to this because I think they're so fun. Anyway, let me just also talk about some little Galveston things. I have a list of notes that I kind of want to just read off of, sort of, to tell you about things I love about Galveston, memories that I have. So for a little more background on my relationship with the city, my grandparents had a beach house there for it might be 30 years, but definitely like 20 years. And that was the beach that I grew up going to. I'm originally from Houston. I was born there, but I'm pretty much call myself from Austin. So we would, because I've lived in Austin so much of my life, but we would drive down to Galveston and spend time with my family there. A lot of my memories with my extended family are in Galveston, and so some of my cousins have places down there. But anyway, so yeah, I was there as a kid a lot. It was a fun place to explore, like there's just something really cool about, as I've said, the landscaping, but also just like the plant life there. I am absolutely in love with like the Texas Gulf Coast. I want to explore it. I want to learn more about it. I think just all of the flora and fauna is amazing. So anyway, so one of the memories that I have that I wrote on here was banana plants and little frogs. And if you know me in real life, you know that I love banana plants. Hate bananas as a food, but I love banana plants. They're so cool. I have some in my backyard right now that were actually from my grandma's house, which I think I talked about in a previous episode, that she stole those banana plants. But anyway, yeah, and I just remember as a kid, we had these banana plants all around the beach house, and we would kind of peel them back. Like, this was me and my brother and my cousins and our neighbors too, which we had some great neighbors in Galveston. But we would peel back the, like, it's not bark, but kind of what you would envision as bark from the leaves, and you would be able to like find these little frogs. We'd be so excited to find frogs, and I bet we were like really damaging the banana plants in the process. But yeah, there were just a lot of frogs around there, and I just remember that really fun activity with my friends and my brother and stuff. So yeah, so I loved that, but also we were able to actually get some little baby bananas to grow on those trees. It was so cool seeing just like the growth process of bananas. Again, if you don't know what that looks like, go look it up. But yeah, that gave me such a love for banana plants, and kind of, it was really also fun to like get banana leaves and like kind of make little weavings out of them and things like that. Anyway, I'm going on too much about bananas. But yeah, so another thing I wanted to talk about in terms of Galveston memories is my grandma's beach house donuts. We got to make these the other day, actually, whenever we went down to the beach. Oh, also, I forgot to mention, I think my grandparents sold their beach house quite a long time ago. Not a long time ago, but maybe like 7 years ago. Maybe longer, 8, I'm not sure. But so we have to we rent places when we go down there. But So yeah, anyway, so we were in our beach house that we were staying in this time, and we got the pan out and the hot oil, and we made some beach house donuts. And here's the quick recipe for you. Straight up, don't know the temperature you should cook the oil at, but maybe you can look this up. But what you want to do is you want to get a can of biscuits, just plain biscuits, and you want to cut each biscuit round into 4, and then you're going to fry those until they're done, I guess. And then you're going to take them out, and you're going to have waiting a bag of powdered sugar and a bag of cinnamon and just kind of granulated sugar mix. So you put the donut into the granulated sugar mix, and then you shake it up. Or did I say brown sugar? It's granulated sugar and cinnamon. And then that's one bag, and the other one's powdered sugar. So you do the granulated sugar first. I feel like this is all over the place and I'm talking very fast. But you do that first, you shake it up, then you move them into the powdered sugar, and then you're done. They're delicious. They are so good. And I have so many wonderful memories of eating these beach house donuts that my grandma would make. And yeah, that's another really good memory that I have. I was always in charge of making those, and kind of segueing from this, good thing about the beach was always eating a lot of junk food. That's something I really enjoy about going to the beach. And I mean, on vacation in general, but it's definitely like a Galveston thing. I just eat horribly the whole time, and it's wonderful. Yeah, especially this time we had some really good food that my parents made. But yeah, I love food. I don't know why I made that a whole point, but yeah, I would eat a lot of sugary cereals that I usually wouldn't eat whenever I was a kid there. What else should I talk about? I mentioned Beach Week on this list, which was a thing that we used to do with all my cousins, and they would all come down. And like I said, it was a really good opportunity to get to know my cousins more and spend time with them, because all of my cousins pretty much lived in Houston. And so, yeah, that's where I've had all my memories with my cousins pretty much, is in Galveston and hanging out with them. So I'm really thankful for that. And yeah, okay, I feel like this is maybe a little boring. I'm trying not to be boring. I shouldn't even say that. Okay. The other thing I love about Galveston, and I really got to notice this time at the beach when I was there and able to drive and stay with my boyfriend, was that the Strand, it's about the Strand, which is a shopping street, but like, it's so cool that in Galveston, like, the old architecture is being used, if that makes sense. So I'm assuming most of my listeners to this podcast are from Texas. I don't know how it is outside of Texas. It probably is pretty similar, but in a lot of small towns across Texas, you have these like really cute town squares that used to be really active and like the center of town, but over time they just are kind of abandoned, and they're these like beautiful older buildings that, you know, the town is still alive and thriving, but they have like a Walmart now and other like more chain like supply stores and things like that, and grocery stores. And so I don't know if it's just because no one wants to put in the energy to fix up these buildings, or if it's because, like I said, the competition really doesn't exist because of these larger chains coming into smaller towns. But anyway, it makes me sad driving through a lot of small towns in Texas that have these really pretty buildings that just aren't being used. Someone could buy them and fix it up, but there's not really a thriving kind of downtown community. Does that make sense? But San Antonio and Galveston, to me, are two examples of places that thankfully like still use their older buildings and preserve their older buildings, and there's actually like a functioning downtown area that utilizes these structures. And so, yeah, my boyfriend and I, we just parked for a little bit. I drove down the island, which was really cool to do because I had never been able to drive whenever I was previously in Galveston because I was too young. But I got to drive down the island, and we stopped at the Strand, which is kind of where it connects. It's closer to where it connects to Houston. So it's pretty far away from where we were staying. But anyway, but we parked there and we just kind of walked around for a little bit. Didn't go inside anywhere, but just kind of looking at the buildings and the architecture and seeing how just, I don't know, it's so pretty and old and ornate. And also it's really neat how there's like 2 levels to the city. So, you have like the street and stuff, and obviously I think this is in other places too, but I guess in the past, the second floor was like, more residential spaces. But yeah, the street looks really cool. During Mardi Gras, people get up onto the top of these like places that I guess were once houses or homes, but now are like restaurants, like rooftop restaurants. And I've never gotten to see the city like that because, again, too young to be celebrating Mardi Gras as like a 10-year-old in Galveston, because it's pretty wild from what I've heard. But it's just really neat to me to see people using these beautiful buildings, and though there are a lot of vacancies as well. And I remember a trip that I went to Galveston on maybe like 3 years ago. I climbed up into this, we were in these stores down below, and then I saw the staircase that led up, and it's like, I think there was like a studio space that was like not rented out to anyone, and it was on like the top floor of one of these old buildings, and I was like able to peek in a little bit, and oh my gosh, how cool would that be to have your own like beautiful art studio in the little downtown, it's not that busy, but like the little kind of downtown area of Galveston. I think that would be so fun. So, maybe if I have the means to do that in the future, if I go down the painting art route more. But yeah, that was a really cool thing to see and kind of a cool thing to aspire to if I ever want to do that, or if I ever can. And yeah, old buildings, super cool. Love them. Yeah, San Antonio though, quick interjection about San Antonio. I mentioned that they also have old buildings. But yeah, they have a great downtown if you ever want to visit it, not just for the Alamo, because there's plenty of other things to do in San Antonio other than see the Alamo. But if you can just go look at the buildings downtown, they're pretty neat. Anyway, it's an interesting downtown. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. That's my little rant about bananas and architecture and beach houses and Galveston, Texas. If you are unfamiliar with the history of Galveston, you should look it up. I probably should have talked about it a little bit more in the beginning of the podcast, but for a quick little bit of info about it, Galveston was originally supposed to be one of the major port cities in the South. It was basically, from what I understand, this has all been told to me, but it was kind of supposed to be New Orleans, like the New Orleans that we have now. But in 1900, there was a major storm there, which is the most deadly natural disaster in U.S. history. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you can look it up. The Great Storm of 1900, and they basically had to just like lift the island up and build the seawall so that, the town would never have to deal with that again, because it was such an awful thing that happened. But as a result, kind of what you can get from it is the fact that this is a really old historic city that is very different from some of the more resort type places around it on the coast. And so that's a really, really special part of Galveston, and you should read more about it and you should visit it. I am such a big fan of the city. So anyway, all of this aside, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you have anything in particular you would like me to talk about, and check in to my channel on my YouTube for a video next Tuesday, and another Draw Pod will be coming at you next Saturday. Thank you. Bye. Oh, and leave a rating or a like or whatever if you feel so inclined. Bye.